Welcome to the Spectators Podcast. Here are your hosts, Corey and Jeff.
Welcome, spectators, to a very special episode of the Spectators Podcast, episode 50, Corey. Our podcast has hit the half-century mark and may go through a midlife crisis.
I think it might. I think we might have to do some questionable things and do some questionable episodes that might come up over the next few months while we're still trying to figure out the groove going into 100.
Yeah, well, we're heading into the geriatric stage for sure.
Yeah.
So some questionable things. Speaking of questionable things, let's talk WWE.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where we left off, to be honest. It's been a few weeks with our busy schedules and everything. But yeah, I think we just jump into the meat and potatoes of everything. And I'd kind of like to hear a little bit about your perspective of just like the overall landscape of things. Like, how have you been feeling about the Raws and SmackDowns lately? What's your perspective of the direction that a lot of things are going, and just as a whole, like holistically?
Yeah, it's getting better, I'd say, than our very famous "Is WWE a Joke" episode.
A lot
can't
of you
say
guys
it's
liked that episode, apparently.
Yeah, thank you for listening. I can't say it's a joke anymore. I have to say I'm more interested in the bloodline now, post Night of Champions. Like, it's been nice to be more interested in that storyline. It's nice to see some consequences for the bloodline finally. I think where I'm still a little frustrated on is probably the title picture. And that's actually what I really wanted to dive in to start the podcast. Was we have some new titles. I guess I would say new titles on the women's side, right? Because they're actually new names. And then, of course, we had Roman's. So we'd like to start. Would you like to start with Roman's title, or would you like to start with the women's titles, the top titles?
I think we'll start on the women's side, but before we get there, I just want to say one of the things that I think, at least from my perspective over the last few weeks, like, it is getting better, but I also we're seeing some fresh stories. We're starting to see some feuds that haven't really been touched on, at least not for a while. We're seeing some long-term storytelling. And, we did get a couple of changes, some key changes that have happened. And I think that we'll get into it later, but one of them being the direction of Bianca Belair and what's going on there. So I think that was a big change.
That could be good.
We were feeling frustrated for a little while that the women's division was kind of holding on to the title for a long time as well, and that's changed. So that's good news, I think, for the division and for WWE, that there is a bright future ahead, potentially.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, we'll start on that side then, on SmackDown side. So we now have what I believe they call the WWE Women's Championship. That's what Asuka's is now called.
Yes, the WWE Undisputed Women's Championship, which is causing some friction and some frustration apparently backstage, because everybody knows
the same name.
Yeah, so everybody knows that, Rhea is also in the title picture and she holds the title as well. So I don't know why they put the Undisputed Championship title on the championships. I'm not sure that really makes sense with the direction that they're planning to go. I think it really just came from Romans, and we'll get there in a second. But it's fresh. It's nice. I like the idea of not having a Raw Women's Championship, a SmackDown Women's Championship, two championships that look identical but just colored backgrounds different. We actually have two different titles, and we'll get into Rhea's title in a second. But we actually have two different titles, which is really great to see for the brand. And this means that if any reason they get traded, cash-ins happen for many brands, those titles can swap brands.
Yeah.
There's no tie-in to the brand, and I think that's the way it should be. So I am happy about that part. think the undisputed part is a little bit questionable. I think that's been
especially on the female side, because there was no like Roman side. There's a bit of like, okay, they're merging the Universal WWE title, so fine. Like I kind of understand why you would say
side,
he's the he's the undisputed Universal Champion. Like no one's going to dispute he's not the Universal Champion, right? So I can see a shred of logic there. On the women's side, I don't, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's been no titles have been merged. The last time the titles were together, I believe it was Becky who had both of them, right?
Yes.
But then they never merged them, right? Like, eventually they went back to each brand.
Becky lost one title, and then she held on to the Raw title for a long time.
Right. So I, even though we've been railing against WWE, credit is credit due, they finally fixed their problem of having the SmackDown's women's champion on Raw and then vice versa, right? Like that's now been fixed, thankfully. Why it took 3 months, I have no idea. It literally was a 5-minute segment on Raw and SmackDown for each title. That could have been done easily.
But I guess they were after the draft, really.
Yeah, I guess they were waiting for Roman, but again, it's Roman wrestling entertainment. They're waiting for Roman to pass 1,000 days and have his title merged, right? A few weeks ago. So yeah, no, I actually like both designs. To be honest, I do like the look of it. I know I think I'm in the minority on that. I know people don't like the WWE, the big giant W in the middle, but they're a business, and that's what they want on their belts, right? Like they use an example of where the Kansas City Chiefs, they won the NFL. They always give a belt to the champion, and Patrick Mahomes walked around with that belt like no tomorrow, right? That's one of the most popular quarterbacks in the U.S. Is just walking around with the WWE title, WWE's emblem on him, right? So I can see why there's
Snoop Dogg, right? He had that gold title that was given. They do a good job of marketing themselves and branding themselves, right? I think WWE, and I mean, I'm not fond of the big W in the middle. The W's in the middle. I think there's just a part of me, and I think there is a minority here in my comment as well, where there's a lot of people who like that scratch logo. So if you go back to like in the 90s when they moved from WWF to WWE and they had that kind of scratchy, they call it the scratch logo. I found that looked a little bit better. So when The Rock moved the title from the Spin Air title to the scratch title WWE title, that's kind of where they sat. And then for some reason they decided to go with this block letter W and kind of change. I think it just feels a little bit unoriginal and boring. That's why
certainly stale for sure. Like if you want if you look at the World Heavyweight title and the women and Rhea's title, which is what the WWE Women, like what do they call that one? Women's Heavyweight title?
WWE Women's World title.
World title. Thank you.
I don't think they want to use the words heavyweight.
Okay, so WWE Women's World title. Okay,
which makes sense because you have people in the division that are like small, like Zelina Vega and stuff like that.
Who could technically win it? Yeah, it's not the same as the men's. They don't have a women's mid card title. Anyways, like that one I like because it's a bit of a creative take on the gold belt, the WCW belt that they had, and they've just merged it with the WWE belt. So that's a nice piece.
And the W is smaller, right? It's a circle in the middle. It doesn't take the entirety of the belt.
Yeah. So I think I hear the criticism. I think I'm trying to think of where I heard it from, but it's it's the same belt for the last 10 years, right? Which is pretty unoriginal, minus the World Heavyweight Championship and the Women's World Championship we have now. So they could they have used a bit more creativity? Could you have not made a different design? Probably. I mean, would love to see the Winged Eagle come back in some form, just do like they did with the World Heavyweight Championship, but. It is what it is. At least in the top of the women's division, you have, like you said, that ability now to, if there's another draft, you don't have to worry about brand swaps or anything like that. If with the sale of the TV rights, do they do away with that? Like you can have, the ability to sort of move away from that. So I do like that. So before we get into Rhea, because I want to talk about Rhea and her title, and I want to talk about Rhea's title reign. I do want to talk about what happened with Asuka and what I feel is a bit of disrespect to her. as a champion, she literally gets the belt on and gets interrupted by Charlotte Flair.
Not even a minute into getting the
literally
title on. Yeah.
Nothing. And Asuka has been such a workhorse for this company. Has held the title, but for not for long. And it's, it's not been, for someone who came in, to my knowledge, with such pedigree from NXT, they really haven't honored that, right? So if she gets it on, Charlotte Flair just basically comes in and gets a title match, right? Which is frustrating to me because they did all of this drafting and moving around so you can get new, fresh matchups. And now we're heading to what we're probably going to see Charlotte and Asuka, which we've seen before. Asuka's lost all the time to Charlotte, hasn't beaten Charlotte before. And of course, now we're going to have Belair probably somewhere inserted into this, whether it's whoever wins that match or a triple threat at Money in the Bank. We'll see. I mean, they're not even slating this match to be at Money in the Bank. It's going to be June 30th, which is the day before Money in the Bank, which is either going to be telling or very disappointing if we see a title change like that the day before a PLE.
I have some suspicions in this one. WWE is just trying to do one simple thing here. And Charlotte is on her 14th title reign, the title reign that she lost to Rhea with the SmackDown title. Her dad has 16, and they need her to cross that line. I think that they want to have Charlotte cross that 16 title line. She's so close. It only makes sense, really, to do it. I think the sad news is she comes back, she gets a title shot right away. It's very telling to me that she's gonna win on the 30th, unfortunately. I think she pulls the title off of Asuka. I think what's going to happen is Asuka maybe slated into the Money in the Bank match somehow, like how they did with Theory last year. Someone will fall out of the match, or remember, Asuka's a heel. Don't forget that, right? So Asuka may even take someone out to make it into the match. She might do that.
To cash back in, you think?
And she'll cash back in. Yeah. It not necessarily be that night. I think she'll hold it against them. And then what I think we're going to see at SummerSlam potentially is Charlotte versus Bianca. Which
I think that's what they're setting up for sure, yeah.
Which kind of annoys me, to be honest, because you just had Bianca have this title reign for over a year long, and now you have Charlotte be Charlotte Flair, and she's that type of person that will come in for very short title reigns, right? She'll come in, she'll lose the title within 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Sometimes even shorter than that. And that's why she has so many title reigns. But I think she's on the latter half of her career, if you ask me. Like, I don't think she's committed to doing full time anymore. I don't think she's there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. At least from what I've seen.
I've seen. And she'll come in when they need her. But I think I want to circle back to what you were saying, like Asuka's pedigree in both NXT and NJPW. Like she's got a lot of background and history and well respected in the industry, and I don't think they've done her justice since she's been on the main roster.
Especially from what I've seen, I've only seen her for a year.
She's won and
I don't
lost
have the history. Yeah.
Several times. She had a decent run when she got the title. When Becky relinquished the Raw Women's title, and Becky was pregnant. That's why she relinquished it. She handed it to Asuka, so she actually appointed Asuka the next champion. And Asuka defended the title for quite some time. I think she actually had a really good run there. So that was good. But other than that, like, I feel like the weird thing is Charlotte came back and she's a face again. Like, Charlotte is clearly a face again, and I think they had to do that because Asuka's supposed to be portraying a heel, although I find that
Bianca's going to be a heel too.
Asuka as a human being, I think she has a hard time playing a heel, and I think that's why.
See, I don't think so. I think WWE, for whatever reason, just will not, from what I've seen, will not let Asuka do what she wants. I don't know why. Because she was Kana in NJPW and did a fantastic job of it. Was way more scarier than what you see on. But obviously, it's a kids show, right? So they have to tone it down, right? But I just, for whatever reason, just from what I've seen in the year, that they just, and specifically the women's division, and I agree with Ronda Rousey, like, it's just, they just restrict it. I don't know why, right? Like this whole Becky and now Zoe Stark thing is like the first like non-title female feud I've seen in the year that I've been there, right?
Yeah.
Like it does not happen very much, which is it's either it has to be the title has to be involved, whether it's tag titles or the top title. Like that's just what you see, and it's very frustrating, right? Because like I see someone like Asuka, who I think has a very creative character.
Mhm.
I mean, they let Bray Wyatt do this whole Uncle Howdy thing for however long. I mean, it wasn't really working, but they still let him do it. Why can't Asuka, do this like heel run properly, right? And I think it's so frustrating for me is because like you can tell what they think of Asuka by the fact that she literally gets that belt on her waist and boom, Charlotte shows up right away, right? Like no,
It's
not even a
disrespectful.
moment. Yeah, not even a moment to. It reminded me a little bit of when it was Ray's 20th anniversary, and like it was completely like the weeks earlier you had John Cena's 20th anniversary. The whole bloody show was full 3 hours of Raw was about John Cena's 20 years, right? And then there was like Ray's 20 years, and he was like feuding with Judgment Day that day, and there was a whole bunch of other like it's just like this like how they treat different talent sometimes drives me a little bit crazy. And if you want to get away from Charlotte's aspects of nepotism, you don't do something like that where like she literally walks right in and gets a title challenge, right? And I like how Bianca is challenging that and saying like what the heck, right? I like how they are going to potentially what it looks like use it to turn her heel, which is what we've been asking for. So I mean, if it ends up being Charlotte and Bianca at SummerSlam with a heel Bianca winning the title, I'll live with it, but I still won't like it in the sense that it's a bit of a disrespect to Asuka.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Asuka's too disrespected here in many ways, and one of the things that I found interesting was like typically the direction that WWE goes is like the heel in the ring doesn't really get a lot of flack, whereas if the face is in the ring, then it's usually the heel that so quickly disrespects the person that's in the ring. But they kind of psychologically turn this around, and she's the heel, but she's got so much she's such a fan favorite. Like the crowd chanter, no matter what she's playing, or how, what character she's playing. And like it was Charlotte being the face that actually disrespected her by, cutting her off and not letting her celebrate.
Because she can't be a face as much as WWE wants it, right? It's like we're seeing a Roman Reigns again, right? Not to that extent, obviously.
Yeah. Well, it was the same thing with Ric Flair, right? Like he was someone who always played a better heel. It's just in their blood, I guess. But
it's like when they flirted with MJF being a face for maybe half an hour, and then he was like, "Nah,
that was good though. That was good TV. Like you actually bought into it for a little bit, thinking he was, he's like, oh, maybe he's taking a change of heart and everything, but nope, they got you. So with Asuka, like I think going back to the beginning, like the title, it's all right. It looks okay with the white strap. I think it's a nice difference from the blue or the red. I don't like the disrespect they're going, but I do like that we might see lead this to Bianca and Charlotte, because I think that's what a lot of people do want to see down the road.
Yeah, which you think it would be at Mania, but I'm wondering. I think it's a bit maybe a rematch. Like, I'll be upset if it goes to SummerSlam and it is Charlotte versus a heel Bianca, which we've all been dying for. It's probably since January, right? So like we've been looking for a new like infused Bianca, and she loses. I'd be pretty. Because I think she hasn't beaten Charlotte yet. I think she's the only horsewoman she hasn't defeated.
Yeah.
Right. So that if she you can do a rematch maybe if you want it Mania. I don't know. Like or just to do something fresh, right? Like I'm annoyed because I really wanted to see Io versus Asuka for that title. Like that would have been such a good match. But it seems like WWE doesn't want to do that. I mean, they can surprise us all. I mean, we didn't see Asuka winning the belt at all at Night of Champions. But here we are, right? Like, what a shocking defeat. And which is, why didn't she win it at Mania? But whatever. I think Bianca had to get over that 400 plus day reign to be the longest Raw Women's Champion ever. So they had to get past that, and I think that's what we're really seeing with a lot of these title runs is they just want to get that over, get it over that hump. Like they want Charlotte to pass Rick. They're gonna have Gunther probably pass Funky Tonk. Obviously,
They want some new records in the books, I think, is what it is.
God knows when Roman's gonna lose his title. I mean, he's gonna be stuck in tag matches till possibly after SummerSlam. I don't know. Like we'll see where they're gonna take this. You would think at some point he's gonna face either Jimmy or Jay, probably solo. Probably Jay. You'd think about it. We can get that in a minute. But speaking of disrespect, I want to move over to Rhea's title now. And I actually also think WWE has been disrespecting Rhea a little bit. And why I say that is her title reign has been pretty mundane, right? He's faced Zelina Vega and Natalya in a squash match. Was it cool to see Rhea squash Natalya? Absolutely. Like it may have elevated her a little bit, yes, but her title seems kind of second fiddle to Judgment Day, and it kind of drives me a little nuts that way.
Well, it seems second fiddle to the WWE Women's Championship too, like Asuka's title.
Well, because that title's been in more like actual feuds than hers. Like she won it from Charlotte at Mania. Like she didn't really feud with Selena. Like LWO and JD were feuding.
Yeah.
Like there was no promo with them going at each other, right? And like Natalya, they didn't have any promo at all, and she squashed her. So now she gets this heavyweight championship, and we're 2 weeks away from Money in the Bank or right around that, and there's no one slated to face her. Like she probably will be ringside against when Dom and Cody face each other, right? And like she literally just got her new championship today, right? His WWE Women's World Champion. But like to me, it doesn't like to the level that she got herself when she faced Charlotte at Mania. Like they just haven't given her anything to show us that she's this like dominant champion, right? Like she beat Zelina, which no one believed she was going to lose to Zelina. Like she beat Natalya in a squash match. Like, and then who's now ready to like? I guess there's Becky, and maybe they're saving that for SummerSlam, which would make sense to me. But it's not. Looks like she's busy with Zoe Stark and Trish for a while, right? So I'm frustrated because I'm a big Rhea fan, and like she's got this title. I really want her to have this title, and she deserves it. She became a Grand Slam champion by beating Charlotte Flair. But since then, like the title has just felt so secondary to me to Judgment Day, and I don't feel that's right.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you said, it does feel a little bit secondary tier to Judgment Day's storyline, almost to even her and Dom's storyline, to be honest. And
it's not a main factor. Like it's just that Rhea's the more powerful person between them, which is funny. Don't get me wrong. Like I am not dissing the Dom and Rhea stuff. It is brilliant.
It's great. I think it's great. Great
so
work they're
good.
both doing.
But like it's you got that championship around her waist, and that needs to be more important than it is right now, in my opinion.
And there are two championships, and you have that in the back of your head that there are two championships still, and it doesn't feel like there's as much to this title. You look at like Asuka winning that title, like she got her redemption story, right? She beat Bianca after losing to Bianca at WrestleMania, and Charlotte had that redemption story against Charlotte, and then all of a sudden she faces Zelina, which is great. It's Puerto Rico. It was good for the business. But then you have our squash Natalya, and you look at both people on that last two feuds, if you want to call them. Zelina was a SmackDown superstar, and Natalya's a free agent. And then you look down
No, she's Raw, believe it or not.
Oh, is she Raw? I thought she was a free agent.
No, everyone thinks she's a free agent because she went on a podcast and said she can go to SmackDown if she wants to, because that's just how how WWE works.
Okay. All right. Well, with that aside, I think you look at the Raw roster, and they did their drafting too heavy on SmackDown. Like you look at who's on Raw, and we've got like, apart from Becky, we literally have Deville and Green.
Well, you got Raquel Rodriguez.
We've got Raquel Rodriguez.
Decided to just keep in the tag picture for, even though she say she had a match against Shayna Baszler, and Shotzi for some reason wasn't on red ringside, even though she's her tag partner. Even Ronda was on the other side. I'm like, which Raquel and Rhea, oh my God, sign me up. That's a fantastic match.
Another person that they're disrespecting too, right? Raquel, like they're not trying to push her up to the main roster, like the main title picture. They're only putting her in that tag title picture, and they've only been doing that. They don't seem to want to push her up right now, but I do agree. I think she'd be a great competitor for Rhea.
Such a good match, because Rhea's not going to lose that match, but it'll be a really good match, and someone you can actually believe that could beat Rhea.
Exactly,
right?
But they're putting Rhea in this place where there's nobody that can fight her, and it's causing a problem because now you're having to resort to bringing in Hall of Fame talent Trish Stratus to face Becky Lynch, and then you have a call up in Zoe Stark, for God's sakes, could face Rhea at some point. But no, they're putting her in a space where, like, there's no, they don't want to have these people compete unless there's a title involved. And that's the problem. That's the biggest problem right there is, you're not having these women compete outside of the title picture. So you're not getting to see who's what, who's where, how good each individual is. And it's hard to think of people like, oh, I believe they can go and face Rhea. I believe they can go and face Asuka or Bianca or whatever. And that's the problem they're having right now. So I feel bad for Rhea's situation in a way because she's getting a poorly booked title run, right?
Well, it's just like you, and that's the thing. They pushed her to the moon for a year, right? Like, and she had like she could have easily main evented night one over that. The tag match was fantastic, but if you had the tag match as the co-main and then you had Rhea and Charlotte as the main, I wouldn't have been upset about that because it was a very good match and it did the job it needed to, right? Where it pushed her to the top. And you can excuse a little bit of Puerto Rico because it's Puerto Rico and you want a girl like Zelina Vega in there, right? But you could have had so many different people step up and it's Saudi, right? Like you could have had anybody step up have Lita come back for cripe's sake and face Rhea, right? Like just be doing something with her title reign, right? And maybe Brandy gets involved now with the Cody and Dom thing, right? But it's just been frustrating to me. I wish that they had more talent for Rhea. I mean, if they didn't change it up, Raw would have had enough faces, right? Like, I mean, Liv and Rhea would have been a natural story too, but obviously now Liv's injured with her, right? And I mean, no Damage Control's on SmackDown. It's like in Damage Control, but they're on SmackDown. So I hope it changes. Like maybe after Money in the Bank, SummerSlam's coming. She's got to have a match, right?
You'd think.
Like you've got to have a big match with her, right? And it probably won't be Becky. So who is it then? Maybe it is Raquel.
What do you think about Rhea's championship, like the title itself?
I like it. I really like the World Heavyweight Championship, and I like the Women's
white
World
strap
Championship
too.
Yeah. I like how I do like because the idea is that they're trying to like why the belts look the same as they're trying to make them look equal, which I actually agree with. I think that's fine.
Yeah, at first I was griping about it because I didn't like it. I was like, oh, it's just a easy ripoff of you know the men's titles. But then again, I thought about it and I'm like, oh, this is creating more of a an equal opportunity, and it looks like the same title, which is great. I actually saw the title, funny enough, today, and I know this has been coming. Like there's been a lot of rumors about it just being with a white strap. I kind of saw that title today, and I thought Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is pretty notorious for putting white straps on titles. He really likes that look. And I thought, oh, he would probably, if he won the title off of Seth, he'd just change the strap to white. And I was laughing because I was like, oh, then they'd both have white titles, right? They'd have the same title, basically.
That'd be funny, yeah. Well, I'm sure if he when he eventually gets his hands, if he ever gets his hands on a championship, which now it's starting to seem like maybe never. I don't know. He talked about Finish the Story today, so that was nice to actually hear it again. Yeah, it'd be funny if you think he'll change. It may if it's the World Heavyweight Championship. I don't think they'll want him to change it.
He's losing a lot of steam though.
Well, I do want to talk about Cody because I mentioned to you today, like, I don't get me wrong, this storyline with Cody and Dom is fantastic. Don't like it, and Rhea and Dom being a little wuss and smacking Cody from behind and running away, like that's great. And their promo last week was fantastic. I want to be very clear on from like an entertainment perspective, this is a fantastic storyline because
you want to talk about entertainment. The best part of tonight of the entire Raw was when the first 5 minute segment when she comes out, she grabs the title, right? She's looking at the title, and then Dom runs out. He runs out, grabs the title, he yanks the title out of her hand, he holds it up for a second, and then wraps it around her waist. And then he goes into this whole storyline about like, you know, I'm like a man of integrity and like I take care of my woman and like I'm a good man, and you know every good woman has a good man behind her, and at the same time like mommy supports me and there's a supportive relationship. And he's talking about this like support in a relationship, and it's just like, this is so funny to hear Dom say this, but it's actually golden just listening to him.
It's so good.
And like, you know, it's funny because all the things he's saying is like, okay, fair, you know, whatever. But the crowd is just like eating it up and booing him the entire time,
right,
even though they were just cheering Rhea. They were literally just cheering her, mommy, and then all of a sudden he comes out and they boo him to the moon.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Dom's
done well. Dom's done so well with the heat. Like it's fantastic. It's nice to see how he's really like coming to his own as this little sniveling little stink that you know, can't actually really fight for himself. When's the last match he had by himself was Mania, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's had a tag match maybe in there with Judgment Day, but like, you know, he knows he can't win, right? And especially going up against Cody, who is like, she's on the same level as Roman, right? Like he's still pinning Solo and when they face each other in live events.
Let's just imagine, like from Dom's perspective as a human being, like take him out of the wrestling for a minute, out of the character. Like you imagine how he's feeling, like going against Cody Rhodes. Like he's getting an opportunity to go against top talent right now. He must be feeling so grateful for the opportunities.
If you look at the crowd reaction, that you're looking at probably your top heel versus your top face, right? Because you're not saying that's what the rankings are internally, right? But if you look at crowd reaction, Cody is 100. Well, actually, Seth's getting pretty damn close to Cody. He sang a song for 5 minutes today, so they ain't doing that with Cody. Well, I'm sure if you played that Cody song for 5 minutes, you get the whoa every time.
And all of that, which is funny enough, is we're starting to see a bit of demise between the Judgment Day. And you know, I started to see it tonight when I pointed out something about Rhea. Is, you know, she's really happy, she got the title, she's kind of changing pace, she's not feeling as ruthless as she was before. And I also noticed when Finn was walking down the hall with Judgment Day, like he was vividly upset. Like you could see he was upset. He was thinking about like what's going on with Seth. But she showed a lot of
division there for sure. Yeah.
But she showed a lot of compassion to him. She was actually like, you could see on the look on her face, like she was genuinely concerned. She was compassionate, which is very outside of Rhea's normal character. Right? So like her normal character work. And Damien was actually the one that was more cold and frustrated with him.
Because he came out last week and disrupted his match.
Yeah. So I mean, I just see like there's different directions that members of the Judgment Day are going. So I think we may see like Dom and Rhea stick together for a little longer, even if Judgment Day does fall apart. Yeah.
So before we go there, I just want to finish my thoughts on Cody. So as amazing as the storyline may be, we may even get a Brandy sighting, which I think would be fantastic. We saw her last at WrestleMania with the child and your typical like face, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
Face moment before the WWE broke my heart. But I think it's just incredible that we go from Cody main eventing WrestleMania 39, and everybody and their dog thinks he's going to become the next undisputed Universal WWE champion, to not even being in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but in a match by himself against Dominic Mysterio. And to me, that match is a booking problem. It was like the match they had at Night of Champions. You had a broken arm Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. And what logistically it'd be like, okay, either Brock's going to kill him, he's got one arm, or, you know, Cody pins Brock with a broken arm. That wasn't great for either side. Okay, fine. Cody passed out. Whatever. Wasn't great. And now I think you have another booking problem because there is no way in hell you want Dominic Mysterio pinning Cody Rhodes, right? Like logistically, it doesn't look good at all. He smacks Cody and runs away, right? Like that it doesn't do anything for Cody. And it would massively hurt him if he got pinned by Dominic in any fashion, by distraction, by Lesnar coming up and giving him 6 F5s. Like that wouldn't do anything. Would that push Dom? Yes. If that's your goal, okay. But I don't think Cody should be doing that now. Especially like if you're still trying, if you talk about finish the story, like it's just the fall from grace a little bit. I think is pretty incredible. I knew it might be like this, but I
didn't know if it would go this drastically.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, it's funny, it's entertaining, but like if you look at it from I think a bigger picture, it's kind of sad.
Well, I think we have to have our expectations up that Cody's losing this match. I feel like the reason why I feel like this is happening, and it may not be by pinfall, but I feel like he's losing this match, or the match will be just a DQ in general, because I feel like their story between Brock Lesnar and him is not over. It's clear that that's not over. This is kind of just a filler match, and I think this is only in Dom's favor. This is just to get some push for Dom. This is the chance to like really, Dom can gloat about beating Cody or something like that. Because imagine all the weeks he'll talk about this if he beats Cody. Whether he wins by disqualification or whatever, because Brock could very well come in and F5 Dom first, right? Like he could do that. It's Brock Lesnar we're talking about. He might come in, F5 him out of the ring, and then F5 Cody 6 times, because their story's not over.
Then Rhea gives Lesnar a riptide.
And then Rhea gives Lesnar his own F5. And then Lesnar's out. No, yeah, exactly. Rhea puts Lesnar in the Gamora lock or whatever you call it, then and breaks Lesnar's arm. And then,
that'd be good. Yeah, there you go. Even matchup.
So I just feel like there's a means to an end in this match. Like this is really for Dom. This isn't for Cody. And I feel like Cody's gonna walk out of this match.
Cody should not be putting Dom over right now. Right? I get it.
But it's because the bigger story is Brock Lesnar, and that's why I look at this. But I really think they're gonna make a mistake if Cody gets pinned. If he gets pinned
take a pin
by Dom, like. You'll never hear the end of it. Dom will never, ever, ever stop saying it, that he's pinned Cody Rhodes.
And so that's the thing is, like, if Lesnar doesn't even pin Cody, like Cody had to pass out for Lesnar to win, you can't have Dom pin him.
Well, exactly, because Dom's going to then go and challenge Roman Reigns, because he's like, well, Roman Reigns beat Cody Rhodes by pinfall, I'll be able to beat Roman Reigns with Rhea's help. Oh my God, could you imagine Dom being the one to take down... that would be another level of totally unexpected.
I am actually annoyed that Dom didn't get in the ladder match. I'm pretty pissed about that, to be honest. I wanted him to win. I wanted him to cash in on Seth and just be the most insufferable. Oh my God! I just realized the titles match each other. Dom and Rhea need to have those titles together.
Right?
They look the same.
Right?
Good Lord, WWE. Come on. Why didn't you give Dom a belt?
They could actually just take the 2 belts, right? And then they could get their own Judgment Day belts, and they could get purple straps each. And they could have the same...
WWE, you've got a gold mine right here.
Listen. You got a
listen
gold
to us. Gotta have those 2 walking down with equal belts. Yeah, put the purple on it. Call it the mommy and I don't know what you would call Dom, but... Latino Heat belt.
Mommy and Latino Heat, the mommy and Poppy belt. Oh my God. So,
anyways, I think I'm just disheartened a little bit that that's where we're at with Cody, and I know who Cody is. I'm sure he's totally happy to put Dom over, and that's the person who Cody is. Will Lesnar show up? I don't know. To my knowledge, he's only booked for July, and then obviously with the lead up to SummerSlam, which apparently a bull rope match is rumored. For that, I've never seen that. That's what
I'm hearing. I've never seen that. That would be back in your Eat Your Vitamins days, when the 80s, and probably even later than that. That was, I believe, that was something that Dusty Rhodes did do.
I see.
And they're trying to pay homage to him.
Did they do that in Hell in a Cell with Seth? Was that with like the rope with the cattle thing on it?
He very well may have done that. Yes, I believe
I
I
feel like they used it
recall.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Oh
so
yes,
we'll
yes.
see.
The when he had the pec tear, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He did.
the
Yeah, I do
torn
recall that.
titty, as they call it,
The
versus titty.
the adversity. um,
So
you
yeah,
know,
go
I
back to
actually do
Judgment
have a
Day then.
question because I want to get back to
Okay.
this Judgment Day, but I want to get your perspective on. We're leading up to a big event, right? This is a huge event. Like Money in the Bank is one of the big
In
ones
London
that
too.
everyone comes out of this event with like a huge potential prize, right? Which they can really hold over someone for a really long time. So like I just want to say like what are your thoughts around like the build they've done for this and like the qualifying matches? Are you finding they're picking the right people to go into these Money in the Bank matches, or
Mhm.
would you have gone a different direction in your own sense?
Well, I obviously would have had Latino heat in there. That's my only
Obviously.
criticism. No, actually, the build for it. I mean, every week has a qualifying match, so
Yep.
you can't argue that they're not talking about Money in the Bank. You know, the Money in the Bank prefaces are above your head the entire night. See, the thing with Money in the Bank is you don't need to necessarily do like a massive build for it because it's a giant stipulation pay per view, right? Like kind of like Extreme Rules. You do have steps, but like it's one that you don't need to do like promos to hype, right? Like kind of like WrestleMania or so it's like Royal Rumble, right? Like you're just getting into the Rumble, right? I actually am a big fan of what they're doing. I think what they're doing is they know they're going to have Roman, they know they're going to have Cody. You're probably going to have Seth do something. Oh, you are. You're going to have Seth and Finn. So you've got the big names there already. So I think they're okay with putting in some newer talent, right? Like if you look at the men's qualifiers, right? You've got Priest, Ricochet. I'm
Escobar,
trying to
I
think.
think.
Escobar. Like you've got a lot of like newer names in there, right? That most of them weren't even in it last year, right? Who knows? I know they have sounds like they have a last chance battle royale or something like that to get in. So we'll see. Logan Paul's coming back.
I have a feeling Logan Paul's going to get the theory spot, as I call it now. So the
Right,
extra
because
throw in.
there's 6 right now, 3 from each side. So I can see Paul being the 7th, just because you want to add a bit of a name there, and he is a newer talent, right?
Yep.
So it kind of sticks with that theme. And the women's side is the same. Like the only notable name there. Well, you got Bailey and Becky, which is their more notable names, right? And then you've got EO, you've got Zoe Stark, and I'm trying to think who else am I missing? I'm missing one more. Oh, it's Lena Vega. Like you got some, like I like the newer names in there that could lead to like a Liv Morgan-esque type move on both the men and the women's side, where you get an LA Knight, who I think is the favorite leading into it, but apparently maybe not. We'll see.
It's
but
been hard
LA Knight,
because people have been talking about LA Knight for a good year or so about winning
yeah.
Money in the Bank. So.
And then on the women's side, like last year, I have no idea who's going to win. I couldn't put a finger on it, but they keep saying Becky, but
seems more predictable. I think if
I thought that last year, then Austin Theory won. So
yeah, we thought that last year, and Austin Theory won. That is a very good point. I think they have a story to tell here with Judgment Day, and I actually think like you understand the whole background of like why Finn's upset, right? Like why he's upset with Seth and
that's why the
career up and everything.
Well, the buckle bomb, right? The outside buckle bomb, right? That's why it set Finn off because he saw a dude. He's done the dude Damien
that night, but Finn had to relinquish
separated his shoulder.
He separated his shoulder and tore his pec, so he had to relinquish the title the following night after he was the first inaugural Universal champion. So. And then Finn and Seth faced off in one of the qualifier matches for this World Heavyweight Championship. Now and Seth won. I gotta say, I think Finn's winning this one. I think Finn's beating Seth, and the reason why I think Finn might beat Seth is because I think Damien's screwing him over and he's going to cash in on him, or he's going to hold it over his head, and this is how Judgment Day is going to break up.
See, the only wild card for me is Drew McIntyre.
Right, he hasn't been named yet.
He is still in the contract negotiations with WWE, and as of today, as of this recording, they're trying to get him. You're trying to get him back before Money in the Bank or at Money in the Bank because, of course, he's from that area, right? So he's the wild card for me. For either winning the briefcase or being a challenger for that title, who I think would be I think they're going to want to put the World Heavyweight Championship on him, right? Because of what's been going on and what happened to him after he lost to Roman, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's what he wants. So, yeah, that's a good one. I have to see how the rest of the story plays out before I can predict. But I feel like they'll want to do a successful cash in at SummerSlam because they had such a crap time with it last year with Theory, and I think SummerSlam's a really good place for a good cash in. WrestleMania 40, I think the story might be Roman losing the belts, so we'll see. I mean, God knows, because they're going to be
don't even know at this point.
Yeah, because I think Hogan's record is September of next year, and you're already in April, so why not just extend it, right? Who knows? We'll see what WWE plans to do with that. So yeah, we'll see. I'm going to withhold my prediction until I see the rest of the story because McIntyre's in the background there.
I keep forgetting about McIntyre because he just hasn't been on TV.
It's been since Mania, Mania he hasn't been. He was injured, and then his sister-in-law of his passed away. I don't know what happened, but I think he's had some family tragedy on there, and he's also in a contract dispute. I think WWE wants him locked up before they bring him back.
Well, they can't afford to lose him, right? Because he could go anywhere. And people will sign him for big bucks for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean AEW's. I mean they've got a show, and although I think his contract's up next year.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't be ready for All In at Wembley. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there. I think Money in the Bank's. I think that I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be just a good show. I mean, it always is a good show. It's a ladder match, right? And they had Omos in the match last year. It was fantastic, right? So that goes.
And what was it? Only 2 years ago, I think Rey Mysterio got thrown off the top of a building in the ladder match. Oh, wow. Because they did the ladder match on top of WWE headquarters when it was COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah, go back and see if you can find that match. They threw Rey off the top of the roof.
That man's still wrestling. Good Lord.
Yeah.
It's probably because he's so tiny.
He just flew. He's a superhero. He's got the mask, right? It's
true.
He's actually Batman, but nobody knows.
As we saw from, I think, what mask did he have? It wasn't the Great Muta mask, but it was the mask he had in Puerto Rico. It looked like he was Batman.
Yeah.
It was black.
the full black mask. He did. Maybe it was a Batman inspired mask. Who knows? But yeah, I think Rey is definitely a bit of a superhero on his own with his amazing career that he's had. But yeah, I think Money in the Bank, regardless, it'll be a good match.
In London, it's gonna be a good show.
It's gonna be a good show. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Let's talk Bloodline.
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one, though. It is an interesting one.
It was so stale, and last time we recorded due to life circumstances before Night of Champions, we were very frustrated with the trajectory because there was just no consequences, and they pretty much been that out pretty quick with Jimmy super kicking Roman in the face, and it's the first time I popped for a Bloodline segment since Royal Rumble when Sammy struck Roman. It was a pretty exciting moment.
I gotta say too, I'm really happy we're finally seeing Sammy and KO separated from the Bloodline.
Oh, thank God.
I was really worried that they might still go around, and we just don't need that anymore. So that's a really big plus.
It is, even though Sammy's still talking to Jay, but we'll let that one slide for now.
One slide. They can be friends.
Yeah, we'll let it go because it is adding to. I like how it's gotten back to Jay again. That's where we were at after Sammy turned the Bloodline in January, and it made for some compelling stuff. I did really like how Jay got a U.S. Championship match, and I'm actually really annoyed they didn't make him win. I think I thought him winning the U.S. title would have added a very
Me too.
interesting wrinkle
I don't know
into the
why he didn't
bloodline
win that match.
because he would have had some gold, and that actually would have, like, even though it's not Roman's gold, but he's like, I got gold too now, right? So it's not like I'm. It's not a tag belt; it's individual gold. Like I think that would have added some really good spice to it. But I mean, who knows? Like they've done a really good job, I think, of reinvigorating at least me into the storyline. I'm now fascinated because Solo has turned now officially on one of his brothers.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure he's ready to turn on Jay too. But again, I do like how they've turned it back to the focus is on Jay. But before we get any deeper, do you like Roman's undisputed belt?
Yes and no.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yes, because it's a little bit of a different taste from the WWE belt with the black background that we've had for a long time. It's also a bit of a different from that horrendous Universal title. I hated the Universal title with the red strap and with the blue strap. I just didn't like it. It was just, what it looked like to me? It just looked like a Toys R Us toy. That's why I didn't like it very much. I hate to say it, John Moxley. I do apologize. But I have to call out that for some reason that belt, that original black WWE title, reminds me of your days as Dean Ambrose.
Right.
And it just reminds me of the awful title runs that Dean Ambrose was given. And, no disrespect to him personally. Like, I think it was just bad booking. But it just reminds me of those bad title runs that he had. And for some reason, that tie in that belt to that. So I do like that it's a newly designed belt. It's something a little bit different. However, on the contrary, I felt with Roman hitting 1,000 days and potentially 1,500 days, for all we know, why didn't WWE do a Roman-specific belt? We saw a Stone Cold Smoking Skull belt. We saw a Rock Brahma Bull belt. We saw a spinner for John Cena. We saw a Rated R Superstar belt for Edge. We've seen a special title for Bray Wyatt. We've seen a lot of different titles over the years. Why is Roman not getting a Roman Reigns title shot or title belt as deservingly, since he's held the title for so long? So I think it was a bit of a miss for me. I think it should have been more Roman oriented.
I wonder if the word undisputed on there kind of is that, if that makes sense. Like, I know they did it for the women's title too, but
fair enough.
They probably it's the undisputed
because it was easy to copy. Because if you do something Roman specific, then how do you build a women's title, right?
Yeah, no, and I do wonder once he drops it. So, and what's interesting is reported by Fightful today is that they've essentially put the WWE Championship on hold. I was worried about that because I thought they were going to end it because that's the most historic belt.
So what do you mean by that? You want to elaborate a little bit?
So what they mean is that, I wouldn't say it's on hold, but like essentially they're just kind of now counting Roman's Universal days. They don't really consider, like, they're not really talking about the WWE Championship lineage.
Which
like
they did 38, WrestleMania 38. Right?
Yes,
okay.
Right. Like, I think from what I can gather, the focus is really on the 1,000 days, and then beyond that, like they're like, oh yeah, you think he surpassed CM Punk today for WWE Championship length.
Okay.
From what I can gather, and what Fightful was saying was basically like once Roman loses, the Universal title is going to be retired, and they're just going to head back, and that undisputed championship will just basically be re-upped as a WWE championship, if that makes sense. Like they'll just kind of, like, the next person who wins it will kind of be going on the WWE championship lineage, not the Universal lineage.
Right, and then that also protects Roman's history with the Universal title, because
I think that's just the whole reason why they merged them, right? Because the whole reason, like, one of the excuses they have for him winning at Mania was, oh, you got to get to 1,000 days, right? But he had the WWE Championship sitting there on Heyman's shoulders, right? So you're like, well, okay, but like, why can't he just give away the WWE Championship? Like, why does he have to keep it? I still have that same question. Why the hell did he just relinquish the damn thing? It didn't matter. Like, it still doesn't really matter if you think about it, because they're so hyper focused on this 1,000-day, which they should be. Like it's
an accomplishment. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a long reign, right? So like they should just focus on that. So, but yeah, so they're just saying like, you know, the WWE Championship lineage he has isn't going to really be the focus. It's the Universal lineage he has, and then it'll essentially it will retire. Like they'll end it once Roman drops the belts in 2075.
So when he goes to the crowd and he's like, Texas, acknowledge me.
He has a heart attack, and then
and then he passes out in the ring, and then you know, they'll do a tribal chief ceremony to celebrate his.
They'll bury him with the Universal
7,500 days as Universal Champion, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I saw a funny clip where he was like he was pinning the Usos' grandchildren.
I still can't get over the one where it's the Make-A-Wish kid. He pins the
Make-A-Wish. That one's good.
I can't get over it.
That's a really good one. But so, anyways, moving back to the Bloodline storyline. Yeah, I'm really interested. Like, it definitely looks like we're heading for a tag match at Money in the Bank, which would be good. Like, I actually would really want to see that. It's funny how a tag match will be the main event most likely at Money in the Bank and not a ladder match, but. You know, he wasn't at Money in the Bank last year, so I think it's nice to see Roman. And I know, obviously, they want to him in England because that's a big thing, right? They want to build their brand out there, so that'll be a good tag match. And then I'm really curious to see what they're going to do beyond that, right? Because you got to think it's probably going to be Roman and Jay at SummerSlam.
Well, it kind of has to be, right? Like, I think you have to start seeing true breakdown of the Bloodline, but I'm kind of not sure what direction they want to go because, I mean, let's say the Bloodline starts dismantling, right? We start seeing, you know, Solo already starting to attack his brother. He may be attacking his other brother soon. I would assume we're gonna see Jay versus Roman at some point. But would you say that this is all leading to someone, I'm not putting a name on them, but someone in the Bloodline actually being the one to dethrone Roman of his titles?
Yeah, and you think it's probably Solo, you'd think, hey? How they're booking him?
It makes sense, but I almost feel like WWE being WWE, Roman will just beat the entire Bloodline, no one will pin him, no one will win, and then now the Bloodline will be against Roman and Roman will go face. So now we're going to have to see Roman be a face champion for another 1,000 days. And then everyone will take care of him. So like him and Seth will team up again. And like, you know, like it'll just be the face side of things. I don't know. I feel like WWE, like from our logic point, it makes sense. The Bloodline dismantles and one of them finally becomes the new tribal chief. And, you know, this is kind of the circle of life, right? But that's our logic. WWE doesn't have logic. So
no. Because I can certainly see, like, you know, Solo and Roman winning at Money in the Bank, or maybe I don't know, something happening there where you get a Jay versus Roman match at SummerSlam for the title, probably his first title defense since Mania, because they are trying to get him in tag matches where he doesn't have to defend, so they can, you know, extend this ridiculous thing. You know, this would have been not been great if you didn't have the titles, because, you know, this is, anyways. Be here for an hour if I keep going. Because I can see Jay versus Roman at SummerSlam, Roman winning, and then asking Solo to basically kill his brother, and then Solo spiking Roman, and everyone turning on him. After that, I don't know what they do, because the next big event is probably like you don't want Roman, if you don't have him lose at SummerSlam, which you probably won't. You don't want to lose the belt until Mania, right? Because of the you know, significance of his title reign, right? So how you stretch that out, I have no idea. Do you have one of the Usos or Solo win the Rumble and then challenge him at Mania? I don't know. Because that would be an interesting wrinkle what they're going to do at the Rumble. Because I thought the trajectory was you're going to have Cody win the Rumble again and challenge Roman.
I don't think Cody's going to get another shot, to be honest.
Yeah, you know,
I heard this theory about how, you know, there was this this is way beyond my time, but when Dusty Rhodes was big in WWE, like there was this one year where he was like, it was like a down on his luck year, and he kept losing matches, and like he just couldn't catch a break, he couldn't get anything couldn't move forward, couldn't get into a title picture. And like a lot of people are thinking that like WWE is trying to like recreate that story with Cody. Like he's just gonna be down on his luck. He'll lose to Dom. He'll lose to everybody. He'll get injured. Like everything's just gonna go downhill. And I hate when WWE does this, but they may even bring the storyline into like things are rough at home and he's having a hard time with Brandy, and like they might do this because it's just WWE and they love to pin the two real and fake things together. And then we might almost see like a bum-ass Corbin situation. Not quite that extent, but like, we'll see Cody like just completely like fall off the whole trajectory towards the title. And then over this year, and then we'll hit January, and then Cody will finally start going on the up again, and he'll start getting towards that. And I think it makes sense because then you'd have Cody have to almost build himself back and like resurrect his career, which then would lead to Roman probably already dropping the title, so Cody will face someone else. That's my guess. I mean,
yeah, at this point I can only really see another member of the bloodline taking it, and probably Solo, because like he had that that bump of Solo where he was actually kind of afraid of him, which again.
And how do you feel about that? If all said and done, after all of this, everything that's happened, Solo is the one who takes the title. Like, how do you feel about it?
Well, it'd be so annoying.
Because
it should be Jay, right?
It'd be garbage.
But, because Solo hasn't even held a championship, right? Like, and
even in NXT, the only championship he held was that North American title, and it was
which he had to vacate.
Yeah, he had to vacate. So I don't think the guy is worthy. I think he's gonna get, if he gets that kind of push, the fans are gonna push back. It's gonna be an ugly one.
Because if it's not Solo, then who, right?
But Solo also can't cut a promo worth nothing.
Well, we don't know that. He doesn't talk.
But he never talked in NXT either.
Yeah.
So he hasn't proven to us, from a fan's perspective, that he can cut a promo.
He'd have to. He'd definitely have to start, because they've been pushing him as that enforcer, right? So like, I mean, if they do it right, like apparently WWE sees Solo and Gunther as like the next top heels for the next 10 years. So they're very high on Solo. Should he be the one to dethrone Roman? I don't think so. But
maybe it's Gunther.
Tell me. Yeah, could be. I don't know. Like, I honestly, like, since they built Cody up like that and had him lose to Roman, I literally have no idea who's going to beat him, and if he will lose it, right? Like, September next year might be where they do it, and they'll do it at Mania 41. It's Mania 40. Maybe that's where you do it. I don't know. But like, again, who's the answer?
I think I know. I'm just going to use my experience of just watching for so long. You're already laughing. I haven't even gotten into it, and you're already laughing. Solo will come close to beating Roman. Jay will come close to beating Roman. The way that they'll help each other is they won't, like, everyone will have turned on Roman at this point, okay? And and by the point of them losing it's gonna come to their own downfalls, their own emotions, they can't keep their own poise to be able to beat Roman. Nothing to do with anybody cheating or anything. It's just a poise thing. Roman's going to be down in the dumps. He's going to feel bad. He's going to go face. Roman's going to start going on the face route. He's going to start facing some of these heels. It makes sense because now you can turn Roman on the other side. He hasn't been facing people who are heel right now because he is a heel. Let's now have him be face. He can face other people. WrestleMania 40 is going to come along somewhere around there. Roman will defend the titles. He will still win the titles at WrestleMania 40.
I thought you said Dom was going to beat him.
The Rock will come back. The Rock will take care of Roman and say, like, he's so proud of him. He'll try to push Roman up again because the crowd, the WWE and the internet wrestling community cannot handle Roman as a face. They hate it. So The Rock's going to have to come back in a totally opposite fashion of what we thought, because we thought The Rock was going to come back and, like, do something to turn on Roman. No, it's going to be to, again, promote Roman just like he did at the Royal Rumble in 2016. We're going to get Roman down our throats for the next September 2024. Survivor Series or Extreme Rules is going to happen. Roman Reigns is going to face Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar is going to win the title from Roman, and Brock Lesnar will retire the undisputed WWE champion.
Brock can't face him. He's not allowed.
He can face a face Roman, because Paul Heyman will no longer be Roman's advocate. My guess is at this point, when the bloodline falls apart, Brock will have Paul back as his advocate, because Roman is now face and Paul doesn't work with faces.
No, it's all heels. Yeah. There you go.
This is what you call WWE logic.
No. Book it, people.
WWE
Brock Lesnar at Extreme Rules in October
2024.
Roman makes Hogan's record.
Roman beats Hogan's record, and Brock Lesnar beats.
No,
Roman.
It should be actually Hulk Hogan who beats. There you go. Who beats Roman? There you go.
And they would do something like that too.
He wants a retirement match, so there you go. I guess you can't retire. Oh yeah, he could have a retirement match. He could retire the Universal title because that's his last match.
And
there
Roman
you go.
Will retire from the WWE, and he'll go in to be a movie star at that point.
Exactly. So you see, people, this is where we're how desperate we are. We're trying to figure out who's going to beat Roman. We have Hulk Hogan having a retirement match against a face Roman to retire the Universal title. That's where we're at. And not on that great note, we'll stop because I think that's a good place to stop. So, but it's forgot to say in the middle because we are so excited about our 50th episode. Please subscribe, hit the like button, hit the little bell to let you know when we are having a new episode. But thanks for listening, everybody. And as I say, my beautifully bearded friend, thanks for chatting with me.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone, and we'll catch you at the next one.